Hey, welcome everyone. My name is Agent Coco, and today we'll be looking at the ins and outs of cybersecurity. For this, I've got my good friend Tyler
Hello.
to join give some insight on the topic. For those of you who know me, who don't know him, I don't know how to speak. Sorry. You're a security student with like over 4 years in, right? If I'm not
Yes,
wrong.
I
How how much are you actually like from finishing cybersecurity?
hopefully 2 months away from grad.
Yeah, so you're basically like on the final
I'm
steps.
on the home stretch.
Yeah, that's yeah. Actually, I didn't know that. I thought you were like just beginning your for the 5 year.
Nope. 4-year program. I'll be done.
Yeah, so I guess I did choose a pretty good like candidate for this. Well, sort of like we know there's a COVID-19 pandemic and everything. So right now, like everyone's staying at their homes. They are using the internet more than ever. So I think like this is probably one of the most perfect times to start talking about cybersecurity and how to protect your computer and everything, like because if you are going to save more time on the computer, like you need to know how to protect yourself now more than ever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, I,
so
I completely agree.
yeah, I kind of had to like ask that, but I'm a bit nervous, so I didn't. But I'm glad you answered either way. Anyway, so to start off with, like, how would you define what cybersecurity is in the grand scheme of things?
So for me, security it's all about data protection and reliability. Those are kind of the two big topics that you kind of have to focus on when you're talking about cybersecurity. Um, data protection, at its heart, when we're talking about security, preventing someone from accessing your computer, your smartphone, your company's data. Um, it all comes down to data in the end. You're trying to prevent someone from accessing information about you, whether that be personal information about yourself on your computer, whether that be credit card information or personal files, things like that, or in a company setting. That could be credit card numbers, financial information of your clients, of employees, health records of employees. Those are all things you want to prevent. But then the other side of it that people don't see is while hackers or attackers may want to access your data, they also may have other motives, such as just taking down your company as a whole. That's where you have issues like the DDoS attacks that come in, where they just want to prevent your company from doing something, doing their daily processes, things like that. So there's an aspect of security that is preventing that data from being stolen, and then there's an aspect of keeping all of your processes and functions online throughout the entire thing. That for me is what cybersecurity.
I'm not gonna lie, that's like a lot more than what I expected, like just the basic definition. So basically, it doesn't just mean like normal like passwords and stuff for people. It also like involves in the grand scheme of things like companies and everything they have on. Like if you get a breach or something, you read like the entire company going down. Is that like about right?
Yeah, I mean that sounds. I mean, I feel like that's maybe a little bit extreme to say it like that. Uh,
Well, I mean,
but
it can happen, I guess.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
I mean,
at its heart, that's about right.
yeah. So, well, literally, well, I don't know how to speak. Sorry. Like, I don't know if you can notice, but like English is not my main language. So anyway, like right now, while we're talking about cybersecurity and how it affects you and everything, what will you say like the most common problem practices are in cybersecurity, or just like in general?
Easily the most problematic practice that people do is password related. Most people will just use very, very basic passwords for all of their various login things, whether that be just putting a password as password, or doing like a birthday or things like that. It's actually, studies have showed that the most common password in a corporate setting is the month that you're currently in, or the season that you're currently in, and then the year. Because companies will make their employees change their passwords every couple of months. So people just do the month that they were in when they changed it, and then the year, and that makes it really easy for an attacker to just run a script and try a bunch of usernames with these common passwords, and that's how you end up with these big breaches. So I feel like passwords is one of the big issues. But I mean, there's many. There's absolutely a.
Oh, sorry, you kind of vanished.
I don't know where I cut out. So
uh, basically, like people like using weird, not weird, like super insecure passwords because their company makes them change them and like that. And they use like the most, honestly, the most both clever and dumb because if I was in that scenario, I would never like think of doing something of that stretch. But I guess like somehow it's a common practice.
yeah, and it's mainly like a lot of it stems from just pure laziness on an employee's part. The other part of it is just there's an unawareness of security for a lot of people. I feel like the younger generation has a better grasp on what security means and why we should be using stronger passwords and why we should be taking time to make sure that things are secure. But people that don't grasp technology yet, the older generation, they aren't caring about passwords. They don't think that by having a weak password, it's going to affect them or the company in any way. So they're doing whatever gets by to get compliance with the company, and then they move on with their day. And that's the issue. That's how people end up getting attacked and targeted, because their passwords aren't strong.
Hmm. So basically, you're saying like um, people usually fall for these kind of attacks because they are either I just is it more because they are misinformed about like the threats of having a weak password, or do they like know this and just don't care at all?
I absolutely think that it's a case of being uninformed.
Ah, you cut out again. Sorry.
I personally, I definitely, most issues out there with security right now, and these fraudulent practices are due to people just being uninformed about security in general.
Yeah, that I was kind of pretty confused about like because I know a lot of people that know about these practices, like how just having a weak password can be super detrimental to one's life, and they still don't care and use the same password or simple stuff, all of that, and it's like boggles my mind how they know about this and they just don't care.
Yeah, trust me, I completely understand that.
Um, you cut out again.
Yeah, I'm with you. I
Oh,
understand.
sorry, I said you cut out. You just like went silent. I guess that's one of the good things finding a good mic. You just don't know
Yeah,
when you stop talking. Anyway, um, remaining on the thread topic, like we know what is the most common practice? Like, what is the most dangerous of these problem practices? For example, I think it will be like something like identity theft. That's a big deal, but I honestly don't know which one is the most dangerous.
for sure. I mean, identity theft is definitely a big one. Um, I'll even go so far as to use a little uh, larger security based term for it. Privilege escalation. Essentially, if someone can use identity theft to uh, impersonate someone within a company, they can gain access to a lot more stuff. Say you send a phishing email to an employee at a company, and they click the link, and you end up harvesting their credentials. You log in as them, you contact their boss, go, hey, I need a little bit more access to this thing. Your boss goes, yeah, sure, you're my trusted employee, even though you're currently the attacker. Now you're getting more access to the company's systems, and you can just continue to escalate your privileges throughout. So I'm with you. Identity theft is one of the biggest issues when it comes to security, at least in the corporate setting. For personal, day to day people at their computers, identity theft is still a big issue, but more on the financial side, having financial information, health records, that kind of stuff.
I didn't actually know like the identity theft in a corporate setting would be like so massively um, detrimental. I honestly just thought it was something in the personal scheme of things. Didn't think of the big picture like in general. So it's pretty interesting to know that some people can actually just do this and get away with it. It's amazing, honestly.
For sure. And it happens more often than you would think. That's from my experience working. I work at a relatively large company here in the US, and we see thousands of phishing emails come towards employees every week. All trying to just get employees to click links, download files to then get access to their computer and just try to work their way through the company's network. This stuff happens all the.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's pretty like yeah. I kind of speechless. I'm kind of speechless if you can say this. It's my main strength is not cybersecurity, so like this is kind of breaking my mind knowing people, not just a few, like a lot of them, just trying to do this and like for what goal exactly? I know they want to escalate in the company and stuff, but why exactly? Like a monetary gain or just hijacking something?
There's a lot of reasons as to why, motives, why attackers attack. For the most part, it's monetary. Uh, most of these hackers are working in you know hacker organizations across the world. Um, Primarily, you're going to see that a lot in Russia, China, um, Eastern Europe, and then here in the U.S. Um, but there's other motives besides monetary gain. Sometimes it's ideological, political. Uh, Say that group that is attacking doesn't believe in something that you believe in. They may attack you and try to shut you down just for that reason because they don't want you around anymore. It sounds crazy when you hear that, but it happens more often than you would think. And some of these people, they're what we call script kiddies. And they're just finding random ways to attack online, and they're teenage kids wanting to just see what they can do and think that there's no consequences, so they'll just attack a company and try to get information and get things, even if they don't do anything with it. They just find it fun, right? That's definitely another motive, is just people that want to do it for fun. It's kind of messed up, but it happens.
Honestly, like if you want to have fun something doing something like that, just you could try learning about ethical hacking instead of actually damaging a company.
Exactly.
Or
Exactly.
I guess not many people on the younger side know about ethical hacking. I want to believe because honestly, why else would they try doing the uh, why else would they try doing it the bad way instead of like actually doing something good with their skills?
For sure. And I think that, honestly, and this is from opinion on this one, I think that a lot of it has to do with the way that hackers are portrayed in the world right now. Like you see movies like The Matrix or stuff like that, where you see this symbolism of hacking as this really cool typing a ton of stuff at the keyboard in the hacker voice, I'm in kind of thing. Uh, so they want to have that experience because they think that that's cool, but that's a very skewed understanding of how security works. So I feel like a
Yeah,
lot of
that
it comes from just how the media portrays.
yeah, it's a pretty big factor now that you actually point out. Yeah, usually like the media points out makes hacking look like that, and people actually believe like you can start typing 3 words on the keyboard and scream "I'm in," and
Yeah,
you're and with a lot of people's confidential information.
exactly.
But really, that's not how the world works.
For sure.
Uh, Anyway, getting to a more controversial side. I don't know if you've heard of this. I imagine you did, but like, there's this coronavirus malware spreading through the internet. I think especially in Italy. Um, there's these hackers sending emails to people containing um, I don't know the word like maps, but they're not real maps. They're like a copy of coronavirus maps and stuff. So they send that to people, so they download a file and it hijacks their computer and steals information. And basically, I'm just exposing the things for context, but like, how do you feel about people in general exploiting this situation we have right now with the pandemic to for personal gain or like attacking things directly? But I think mostly for personal gain.
Yeah, I've been up to date with exactly what you're talking about. These websites that are using uh, basically people's fear to spread their malware. It's unfortunate, right? It's definitely unfortunate. I saw an article recently that there are several malware groups that have now pledged not to attack hospitals during this because they know that if the hospital were to go down, many. So it's good to see that there's at least a little bit of a positive among this. But the issue is, hackers are constantly trying to find vulnerable people to attack. That's why, for the most part, a lot of the people that get hit with attacks are the elderly because they just don't know any better. They're ill informed about security practices, and that makes them an easy target for attackers. Right now, a lot of people are in total fear. They want information quickly, so that's how these attacks are spreading. Is because people want see these maps of the COVID-19 virus spreading. They want to see what's going on. So attackers are feeding on that. I think it's unfortunate, but it's also understandable, right? This is really it's no different than another time for attackers, right? Um, this is how they do their work normally is feeding off of vulnerable people. It's just a matter of there's a lot more vulnerable people that are united around one main topic right now. So it definitely is bad. And if everyone could stop doing that, it'd be better. But it's not something that surprises me.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's like um, yeah, it's not like something new, but now with a whole thing where people should be like, united to fight what we're facing off right now. There's these people still not facing, preying on the vulnerable for their own gain, and I don't know, it's now more than ever, it just feels really disgusting.
Yeah,
But there's people like
yeah, I agree.
that now more than ever. Hmm. Anyway, so back to the password thing. Well, not password, but I know I'm saying like and a lot. Sorry. Anyway, back to the security stuff rather than controversial. There's a question that I've been wondering. So I know like a lot of people usually ignore privacy and security guidelines on websites, and I maybe don't know if it's because they're lazy or they just. I'm curious more than anything. So why do you think they would ignore these policies and guidelines regarding their services?
I think it still always comes back to just being misinformed. There's the understanding. At least I'm speaking from the U.S. perspective. There's a lot of people that think that they're invincible, and you're seeing it with the COVID-19 virus right now as well. There's a lot of people that are under the assumption that, oh, I can't get it. It's not going to happen to me, kind of thing. And that's the same with security. Sadly, people are, oh, I'm not going to get hacked. Um, you know, I'm secure. I take caution with what I'm doing, and they ignore rules and guidelines, and then they get hacked. So it's kind of, people think that they're invincible. I think that that's a big part of it, but then there's also a matter of people that are just completely uninformed about security practices in general. There's still a lot of websites and a lot of companies out there that are not taking security seriously, and they just don't know and don't tell their employees or their clients about security practices. That's a big problem.
Huh. I mean, I understand like the average people not caring, even though it's not good. Like I understand it, but companies too. That's honestly surprising.
The issue is security costs a lot of money, and startup companies, smaller companies out there think, oh, we're small, we're not a target for attackers. Attackers are going to want to go after the big guns. But the issue is those bigger companies have large security departments that are there to stop attackers from coming in. These smaller companies may not put the money towards security, and they're the ones that end up getting taken down.
Oh, yeah. Like I think it's the same thing we said earlier. Hackers mainly preying on the vulnerable. In this case, smaller companies.
For sure.
So anyway, um, basically, what kind of advice would you give these kind of users that are lazy and feel invulnerable for actually taking security measures?
So I mean, that I would give. The simplest and vaguest one is to just become informed about security. Even on a very base scale, there's a couple of small things you can do to kind of help out in being more secure. One of the biggest ones is just installing an antivirus on your system. Um, it's difficult more on a phone if you're doing insecure phone browsing or something like that. But on a computer, there's a ton of antiviruses out there. Me personally, I use an antivirus called Malwarebytes. It's free and it does a pretty good job at preventing malware on your machine. But for the most part, if you're running a computer, Windows built-in antivirus is actually very good these days. So I use a combination of both that and Malwarebytes to protect my machine. But having an antivirus is a big step, but also just paying attention when you're browsing the internet. If a link looks suspicious, it's probably not a good link to go to. Things like checking in your browser bar. If there's a little lock next to the link, that means the site is secured with HTTPS, meaning that any information that you send or receive on that link is going to be encrypted. That ensures that you don't have, plain text passwords and credit card information being sent on that site. It's little things like that, just noticing the surroundings of where you're at on the internet and ensuring that those links that you're at are secure. That's a big piece in having secure traffic.
Yeah, I can imagine that being the case, but it feels like it bothers me a bit. Like I know this stuff, and the average public also knows about how to protect themselves, but well, I guess it boils down to them feeling vulnerable, like you said earlier. But still, I guess there's no way to properly force them to be secure if they don't wanna, even if they know the risk and how to protect themselves. I guess there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, at times, yeah.
Hmm. Now, while we're at the topic of antivirus, I know a few good antiviruses like Malwarebytes being one of the cases you mentioned. I actually use that myself and it's pretty good on the grand scale of things. But what there's another cold world of antiviruses that are mainly either not good or predatory or even like what's the word, dangerous to the user. They inflict malware and stuff instead of protecting. So do you know a few examples of this kind of antiviruses so people don't know what to download?
Yeah, there's definitely antiviruses are an interesting beast in among themselves, because there are definitely antiviruses out there that claim to be things that they aren't. Instead, they are, harvesting your data on the back end and doing a lot of logging to the company that puts on the virus, and they may have some protection involved with them, and they're still a viable antivirus, but they're doing a lot more than what you actually sign up for. That's why I like Malwarebytes, because it's a relatively quiet antivirus. Things like McAfee. McAfee will do an okay job at protecting your system, but for the most part, it's there to get you to pay for the premium after you have let your trial run out that comes with Windows. Things like that. I don't specifically know a lot of bad antiviruses, but they pop up over time. You'll end up seeing new things. Anything that is, oh, I'm gonna clean your system kind of thing. Definitely on phones, you get that a lot where it's free up space on your phone with this phone cleaner, things like that. Those are almost certainly going to be malicious. With those, those are the kind of ones you want to stay away from.
Yeah, I guess a good rule of thumb is like if you download an antivirus and it starts popping like you have 1,000 viruses on your computer, you probably don't have 1,000 viruses on your
That is very true.
computer. Anyway, to finish off, now again with the topic of the pandemic, how exactly do you think this whole thing is affecting the cybersecurity area? Like especially now, considering all the predatory people targeting vulnerable and panic uh, persons.
Yeah, it's a big issue. It's a big issue. I think that a lot of people are starting to see that a little bit more, that it's a big issue. But I will say, if hospitals aren't going to be attacked, it's not going to be as big of an issue as what a lot of people fear. I think that a lot of the fear right now is that hospitals are going to be for attackers, and I guarantee to you they are right now. Even though there's many attacker groups pledging not to attack hospitals, there's still just as many that are preying on the vulnerable with hospitals right now. It's a big issue. If those hospitals end up having major breaches, that's a lot of financial and health records that are exposed to the public. That's a lot of possible vital systems going down. You hear of people that need the ventilators to survive right now with the COVID-19 virus. Say that an attacker manages to get into the power lines of the hospital, and they can shut down the. That's a lot of people that are now at a even larger risk with ventilators not working, things like that. That's where you know can really be affected by cybersecurity, and I think that you'll see that a lot more people are going to be taking security more seriously during this pandemic, and you're going to find that companies are going to be putting a lot more money towards security to ensure that those unfortunate situations don't happen during this.
It's still pretty amazing that, well, to begin with, I always seem to fail to see the grand scheme of things. I usually just think of the personal um, scenario, but yeah, it's amazing to think like there's people who can, rather than want, they can hack into hospital grids and actually put a lot of people in danger if they wanted to. And the fact that they can and also want to do that, luckily right now, for some reason there's, well, for some reason, for obvious reasons, there's a common agreement to not do that. But imagine if there wasn't like the pandemic, it wasn't just normal people, normal hospitals for unknown reasons. It would still be like a massive deal, and people wouldn't know that security was that big of a deal in that scenario.
For sure. It really it's scary to think about.
Yeah. So in general, cybersecurity actually ended up being such a massive deal, more than I expected before going into the interview. It's kind of amazing how vulnerable we are in the current day, especially because of the lack of information and misinformation too. Because it's not just that there isn't anything out there, it's also that some sites um, prey on the vulnerable panic to spread misinformation and get clicks, and basically that's not good at all. But yeah, it's pretty amazing seeing the grand scale things within the cybersecurity.
Yeah, it's a growing field. It's one of the main reasons why I went into it, because as the world is getting more and more technologically focused, security is going to continue to be a larger and larger problem. Even as we move into a world of automation where processes are going to just be ran by computers and by robots and machines, things like that, there's still going to be people that want to attack those and take those down, and you need uh, physical security people to be manning the systems and ensure that they're uh, still processing the way that they're intended to.
Yeah, I feel like cybersecurity is one of those fields that like in comparison to something like medicine, where you will always have to develop new ways to protect a system because the other side of the spectrum will always be developing new ways to attack the system. So it's like an endless loop of doing something that honestly there should not be a reason to have security if people didn't, you know,
Exactly.
be people.
No, you're absolutely right in that manner. It's actually we're moving towards an even newer era of security where we're starting to use machine learning and artificial intelligence to make some of these decisions with security. You're sitting in a company, say you're working at a bank. That's a lot of information coming in every second. Somebody goes on to pay their bills. That information is coming in. Well, when you have attack also attacking the bank, that's a lot of information coming from a lot of areas all at once, and you have to make decisions about whether that's traffic you need to block or that's traffic that you need to let in because that person needs to pay their bills. Is it malicious? Is it not? And that's where we're starting to use artificial intelligence and AI to make those decisions and understand how things should be permitted within a corporate environment. And it's scary that that's the direction we're going because you never want to put all of your trust in computers. But then there's also the aspect of, can the computer actually be more intelligent and more reliable than the humans in this?
Hmm. Yeah, that's. I mean, I guess it's a most logical set, but still, I mean, if the machine is able to protect itself, well, great, but it will still be vulnerable, and if that machine gets hijacked, then I guess there goes all of the security of whatever is containing there. Yeah, it's honestly cybersecurity is a whole other beast. But anyway, that's probably all all on my side. We kind of had only 8 minutes to do this interview, and we've been like more than half an hour into it. So I'm probably failing my assignment, but it was still like I can fathom how pleased and well appreciated I am for having you today with me, and especially informing. Well, if anyone actually watches this video, informing these people about well the issues and how to protect themselves, and maybe entertaining them a bit, especially with my cringe-worthy moments.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, whomever it is. Thanks again, Tyler, for joining in, and I guess I'll see you the next time.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, see you.